On a chilly, wet evening, 19-year-old Renisha McBride lost control and wrecked her vehicle on a road in Michigan. Dazed and injured, suffering from both a head trauma and a badly hurt hand, she staggered away from the crash, hoping to find assistance. But her physical wounds weren't the only concern. Her mental condition would later come under closer examination. Despite everything, Renisha managed to approach a nearby home and began loudly knocking on the door. Tragically, instead of finding help, she was met with deadly force.
I just shot somebody on my front porch with a shotgun, banging on my door.
The man inside, Theodore Wafer, opened the door and ended up pointing a shotgun at her, firing and taking her life. The shooting occurred on November 2nd, 2013, shortly after 4:30 in the morning, when the Dearborn Heights police received an emergency call from Theodore himself. Once they confirmed he wasn't posing an immediate threat, officers began asking questions about what had occurred.
What happened here?
A consistent knocking on the door, and I'm trying to look through the windows, but every time I look through the windows in the door, it's banging somewhere else, so I opened up the door, kind of like, who is this? And the gun discharged. I didn't know there was a round in there. I don't get it. Who's knocking on your door at 4:30 in the morning? Bang, 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 somebody wanting in.
Though Theodore stated it was a horrible mistake, several elements of his explanation raised suspicion. Detectives began to suspect this may not have been a simple accident at all.
Homeowner says there was somebody pounding on the door. He opened the door, like to say who the heck's out here, and his gun discharged and shot this black female in the head. She's rescue isn't here yet, but I'm pretty sure she's DOA.
Police at the scene reported that the shotgun blast had caused such massive damage to Renisha's head, particularly around her jaw, that she was declared dead at the site. Meanwhile, Theodore, appearing stunned and overwhelmed, was placed in a squad car as the officers processed and examined the scene.
Not really, I mean...
What's that, sir?
I said that, I don't know,
Let's sit tight, man. See what we can figure out here.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Theodore said he woke up to someone banging on his front door, and in that moment, he may have thought it was a dangerous person trying to break in. His body likely went into panic mode, entering a fight or flight reaction, with a rush of adrenaline preparing him for a possible threat. But now, sitting in the back of a police car with no danger around, that response had ended. After gathering some basic details, the authorities brought him to the station for a proper interview, and soon, inconsistencies in his version of events began to emerge.
Well, why don't we just start out by, I know you told officers at the scene, but I need you to tell me now. Just give me the scenario of what happened tonight, in your own words.
Well, I don't really know how these proceedings work. I mean, am I being charged?
No, sir.
Should I have a lawyer present?
That would be entirely up to you.
I mean, this is a very serious matter. It just happened, I believe.
Well, it is a serious matter to the young woman that's laying in report. We have to do a thorough investigation, and
Am I allowed back into my home now? I mean,
when the officers are done with the scene processing and when the ME removes the body, yes.
See, this is
So.
He appeared anxious during questioning and at one point asked if he needed legal counsel. However, his request didn't clearly state he wanted a lawyer, making it legally ineffective under his Miranda rights. The detective also subtly influenced him by saying that talking to him now was no different than speaking with the officers earlier, which wasn't true. First responders are meant to secure the scene and collect preliminary facts. But during an interrogation, investigators look much deeper and focus on uncovering guilt. Theodore, meanwhile, seemed to view the detective as someone neutral who might guide or support him. But it's crucial to understand that the detective's main aim was to obtain a confession.
You made a statement to the guys at the scene.
I heard noises, and it startled me. What these noises were. These banging, prying noises. First on the side of the house, and then front of the house, back to the side of the house, and front of the house.
Given the time of night and the setting, Theodore might have assumed the person outside had bad intentions, especially considering Dearborn Heights has a high rate of crime. Statistically, residents have about a 1 in 55 chance of becoming victims of violent or property-related offenses. And he mentioned believing someone was about to force their way in through a door or window.
Well, looking out the peephole, I can't see this person, I can't see that, what's going on inside. Every time I look out one door, the noise is coming to another one, or the other side of the house.
Well, I mean, at this point, are you getting frightened? Is your heart racing? What's going on?
Yes, I have no idea what's happening. It was getting louder. I thought at any time somebody was coming through the door or the window. It was getting violent.
Where did you...
Persistent.
Okay.
Especially on the front door. Very persistent.
This claim supported his argument that he felt in immediate danger, which he thought justified the shooting. His attitude during the interview was defensive, and his posture, arms tightly crossed, suggested a barrier between himself and the detective. As reality began to hit him, Theodore became more focused on defending what he did. He attempted to shift some of the blame away from himself. By saying, "The gun went off," rather than "I shot her," he distanced himself from the act and made it sound like the weapon acted independently. But then came another suspicious detail. He told officers he had the gun at waist level. However, based on his height compared to Renisha's, that would have made it impossible to shoot her in the head. For that to happen, he had to be holding the weapon at chest level, directly aiming.
How were you holding the gun when it discharged? I mean, tell me.
With both hands.
I mean, do you have it raised? Do you have it? No.
No, it's a pistol grip, so you just have to lift it up. So open the door with one hand, and when I placed my other hand just like that she went off. I didn't expect it.
This issue of how he held the gun became key to the case. Firing from waist height could seem like a reflexive reaction, maybe accidental, but holding it up to chest level indicated he aimed and fired deliberately. Based on these facts, the detective was certain Theodore wasn't being truthful about how the weapon was handled.
Okay, how high were you holding the gun when it went off?
Waist, and it was on an angle. I was, as far as I can remember.
Do you think that when you were holding the gun that it was on an angle like this? Could it have been like this?
If I'm opening the door, I have it. If I open the door,
okay,
that quick. It's a pistol grip.
While Theodore might have been lying to make the killing seem unintentional, it's also possible he genuinely misremembered things due to shock. It's well known that people who go through trauma often recall certain details clearly while forgetting others entirely. That's why eyewitness statements are not always as dependable as we think. In Michigan, the Castle Doctrine allows homeowners to use lethal force against intruders if they reasonably believe they're in serious danger. But by Theodore's own admission, when he retrieved his shotgun and decided to take action, there was no clear or present danger. In fact, he opened the door to confront the situation, which weakens the Castle Doctrine as a valid defense. As the interview neared its end, the lead detective brought in a second officer to ask one last question.
Where do we take his shotgun, shell casing?
So we took your Mossberg. There was a spent shell casing in the shotgun, and you had your green shotgun case. So we just tucked it in that and took the gun with it. There was one shell casing, so what? There was just one in it all the time, or what?
Yes, like I was just trying to explain, I couldn't remember if there was one in it or not. I kept my shells in a separate closet, so I got a little paranoid. A few weeks back, got paintballed, so I maybe that's when I loaded it, put it in. I mean, I don't think I mentioned that to you, but I mean, that's what I put one in there or something like that. But I did not realize there was one in there, no.
Later, police continued their investigation, carefully reviewing every detail surrounding the case. During this time, they uncovered more background about what happened in the hours before Renisha was shot. According to official records, a 911 call came in shortly before 1 a.m. to report a minor car accident. A female driver, believed to be intoxicated, had crashed into a parked vehicle while speeding down the road. When she exited her car, witnesses said she appeared confused and disoriented. She then left the scene on foot. Officers didn't arrive until a second call came in, reporting that the driver had returned. Unfortunately, when authorities got there, she was gone again. That driver was Renisha McBride. Had someone been able to reach her and offer help while she was wandering around in her injured and intoxicated state, she may never have made it to Theodore Wafer's doorstep. Others argue that had she not driven drunk, none of this would have happened. There's a notable 3-hour gap between the time of the car crash and Theodore's emergency call. No one knows where Renisha was during that stretch of time. Her family believes she was confused from the concussion and was just trying to find assistance. Eventually, Theodore was formally charged with second-degree murder, manslaughter, and possessing a firearm during a felony. Though he initially told police the gun discharged by accident, that narrative changed in court. Now he and his attorney claimed he fired out of fear, convinced Renisha was trying to break in. However, the judge didn't accept that explanation. The court determined that Renisha hadn't done anything extreme enough to cause legitimate fear for one's life. On September 3, 2014, Theodore was convicted on all charges. He was sentenced to 15 to 30 years for second-degree murder, 7 to 15 years for manslaughter, and an extra 2 years for the firearm offense. All of these would be served at the same time. Though the state of Michigan doesn't allow capital punishment, Theodore's lawyer argued that the sentencing effectively guaranteed the 55-year-old man would die in prison. But the legal battle didn't end there. In 2015, Theodore filed an appeal, seeking to overturn the verdict. Surprisingly, the Michigan Supreme Court agreed to hear his case and eventually threw out the manslaughter conviction. They explained that second-degree murder requires intent and malice, while manslaughter does not. Holding both convictions violated Theodore's legal rights. With that one conviction removed, there was a brief hope that his sentence might be reduced. However, during a new hearing in June 2022, the judge reaffirmed the original punishment, stating the reasons behind the sentence remained strong. Theodore's punishment remained 15 to 30 years for the murder charge alone. Even without the manslaughter conviction, Theodore Wafer will still spend decades in prison for the shooting death of Renisha McBride. A young woman knocked on a door for help and lost her life in an instant. Whether it was fear, poor judgment, or something darker, only one thing is certain: Renisha McBride's story should never be forgotten. Theodore Wafer remains behind bars, serving time for a decision that shocked a nation and shattered a family. What do you think? Was it truly self-defense, or was it murder masked by fear? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story moved you or made you think, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss another case that needs to be told. Thank you for watching.